And that is why I spent so many years feeling like a failure. Because it wasn't that I failed, it was because I was barking up the wrong tree. It wasn't that I didn't climb the tree successfully, it's that I was at the wrong tree anyway. To be dramatic when I say this, but if you do not take the time to redefine what success actually looks like and feels like for you, then this could potentially lead to extreme burnout, both physical, mental, emotional, spiritual burnout. And it's easy to sit here and say, oh, I know what my definition of success is, and then subconsciously be led down somebody else's route of success, or measuring and comparing yourself to other people's version of their success, measuring yourself with somebody else's ruler or tape measure. This is why it's so important to keep checking in with yourself and understanding that, okay, that's somebody else's idea of success. It's not my idea of success. What is up, people? A very warm welcome back or to another video. Today, we're going to be talking about redefining success, but not just for the sake of it, but redefining success so that you are not led down the false sense of security of what success actually looks like, because this is such a vast topic and everybody's idea of success is going to be completely different to yours. Before I continue, there's absolutely nothing wrong with what your version of success looks like for you and what you want for yourself out of your life. Some people's version of success is getting married, buying a house, and having 200 kids. Your version of success might be completely different while you're growing up, especially when you're in your 20s and there's a lot of changes going on in your life. And it's very easy to fall under people's influence during that time. It's very, very important that you keep checking in with yourself and reminding yourself of what your version of success looks like. And more so that you don't get kind of swept away with other people's idea of what success is. And I know for a fact that that is something that definitely happened to me. I was here talking about my version of success here, and then the other version of me was blindly kind of subconsciously following what everybody else was saying, especially when it came to careers. And I was just following the crowd of what the whole world deems successful when it comes to careers, money, how you live your life. So in this video, I'm actually going to go through two major examples in my own personal life of how where I wasn't really checking in with myself and redefining what success looks like to me, how that led me to extreme burnout. Now, if you're a millennial or a Gen Z watching this, you will know for a fact that this is something as a generation that we've all had to face. Even if we didn't want to face it, we had to face it in order to survive. If you're a millennial or a Gen Z, you will know that everything we've been told growing up is a big fat fucking lie, and it is now nil and void in today's society and today's economy. We were told growing up that if we just worked hard, we would be successful. We were advised to go to university and college. We were advised to go into debt because after all that hard work in university and college, we were going to come out with a degree and we were automatically just going to be enrolled in a six-figure job. That's what we were told. This was the lie that we were all fed. And if you did anything other than this, then we were going to either flip burgers, stack shelves, or become a plumber. And for the life of me, I still don't understand why those jobs were demonized, because I actually see people doing those jobs and not only are they happy, but let's all face it, plumbers are making bank right now. The first way that I unfortunately fell into the trap of not redefining what success looks like for me in my life was through my career paths. I was growing up, I did not want to do a stereotypical 9-5. I wanted to be a dancer or an actress. I specifically wanted to be in musical theatre. That was my biggest dream growing up. I grew up doing dance and performing and gymnastics and everything like this. I wanted to be on stage. But growing up with immigrant parents, anyone watching this with immigrant parents, you will understand that is not a job that you pick. And saying that out loud to your parents is not a fun topic, because I was simply just told, well, you can do it as a hobby, but you're not doing it as a job. So when I went forward to my parents and I was like, look, I don't want to go to university. I want to go to performing arts school. I want to go to acting school. They were like, that's not even a real job. Choose something else. So, of course, my heart was then broken. And unfortunately, I didn't fight hard enough because I was made to believe that I genuinely wasn't good enough to do those things. All the time, I was just told, it's not a real job. It's not what it's cracked up to be. It's tiring. Your wages aren't consistent, yada, yada, all of this stuff. There's no job security. Tell me if you were a millennial or Gen Z, you heard this all the time. There's no money in that. Or, oh, that's not a secure job. That's not a real job, yada, yada. Let's face it, any industry right now in 2026 is questionable. No one really has job security if you think about it, apart from maybe someone who works in a fucking graveyard or as a mortician or something like that. These people are guaranteed work, right? Everybody else, we're all fucked. We're all in the same boat. So I then went down the route from my very early 20s to literally about 2 years ago. I went down the route of basically just trying out everything that I possibly could, which in everybody else's eyes, in society's eyes, in my parents' eyes, was deemed successful when it comes to career paths. Now, one of my dream jobs as a kid was actually flight attendant, and I did manage to fulfill that dream. Also, I went down the route of trying the whole corporate girly stuff. And once I started that, I was like, this is it. I'm going to be so successful. I'm going to earn so much money. I've got your stereotypical bog standard 9-5, the whole corporate dream that we've been sold. I should have done this earlier. I would have been so rich, yada, yada. Started that. And honestly, for the first couple of years, I actually enjoyed it because I thought, this is it. I think I either gaslit myself or I was just gaslit from society and my parents that this was the way forward and the way to be successful, that I just ignored all my inner chat, all my instincts, all my intuition. I just buried that right down and was like, no, this is the way forward. Now, after a couple of years, this started to have a strain on my mental health because I was like, I can't be myself. That was the main thing. That was literally, I was going to go into point 2, but the point 1 and the biggest point of all, which is why I could not continue with this, is because I could not be myself. I just couldn't let this mask slip. And as soon as it did, I was always in trouble. So that only lasted for the years that it lasted. But the point being is that it led me all the way to my extreme burnout. And that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, because I realized right there and then, do you know what? As much as people say this is going to be successful, ultimately it's not going to be successful for me because it's just not who I am. So again, I had to sit down and I had to talk to myself. I had to talk to a therapist. I had to be like, I need to redefine what success is because this is what I thought it was. And I just spent the best part of over a decade chasing something that wasn't even my version of success. And now it's led me to extreme burnout and feeling like a complete and utter failure in life. Where do I go from here? I'm like late 30s. I've tried absolutely everything. I've done everything that the boomers told us to do. And I just still feel like unfulfilled, basically. I've bought my own property. I've gotten married. This is everything we thought. Like, once we tick these boxes, it's just going to be this massive utopia moment of like, oh, I'm here. I've arrived. I've got it. But I still felt so empty. And that was when I had to sit down and be like, right, what is success for you? And my husband really helped me with it. Our versions of success and what we want out of life is really similar because that's why we're married, right? I'm not going to marry someone with different goals to me, because ultimately, if I really want to go traveling and I married someone who's a homebody, that's not really going to work in the long run because we're going to clash. He sat down and he said, I think you need to remind yourself what success looks like for you. He goes, for me, and he was talking about himself, he was like, I want freedom to kind of leave the house on a whim, hence why we don't want kids. He was like, I just want money so that I can be comfortable and go out and have meals and go on holidays. And, he goes, I just want to live life. I want to experience it. He says, I don't want money just sitting in the bank for nothing. I don't want a big flashy car, house, etc., and all these materialistic things, which are nice, don't get me wrong, but I don't want them just for the sake of it. He was like, because I want to feel successful in my ways. He was like, my success is like having a lie-in. And then it dawned on me, I was like, okay, I've forgotten all about this because I've had years and years of people just throwing it down my throat. Like, no, this is success. Your success is wrong, what you think in your head. This is what success should look like. So I started going down the same route as everybody else, blindly being, this 9-5 robot, just waiting for my next paycheck, thinking, oh, it's going to make me feel better about myself when I get that next promotion, when I get that next job, when I move up another, layer on the ladder. The thing is with our generation is we've learnt from boomers who flexed about things like sacrifice, overworking, just doing anything and everything they could for people, actually tolerating abuse, both from partners and from their bosses and from their employers. So because they did that, they didn't know any different, and they taught us the same thing. So actually, if you speak to any millennials, specifically the older millennials in the early 80s they were born, they'll tell you that they started off like that. They probably started off, being, doing absolutely everything and anything for anyone, overworking, pushing harder, working harder, pushing through, illness and anything else going in their lives. They would just push through. And, this hustle culture was kind of a flex back then. And even though there's a small percentage of people still flexing about that now, I think there's a larger percentage, especially the younger Gen Zs, who is like, fuck that shit. We're not hustling. We're not groveling. We want to be happy. We want to actually live our lives. And that is how the generations change the definition of what success is, by living differently to the last. So millennials have finally woken up and gone, I'm not hustling anymore. It's not got me anywhere. I've done everything you've told me to do, and it's still not got me anywhere. So now Gen Z are like growing up, getting, especially the younger Gen Zs who are like, naughties, early noughties. They're like, fuck that shit. I'm not doing an extra minute at work. As soon as I'm finished, I'm gone. They are out of the door. And that's what I actually respect about them, is that they will not fucking grovel. Whereas you hear boomers bragging about, oh, but we sacrificed and, we did overtime and we didn't complain and we pushed through. That's nice, Barbara, but we ain't doing the same. The burnout that I went through actually made me face myself a little bit more, because I had not been facing myself fully. What does success look like for you? What do you want out of life that's going to make you feel successful? Now, for most of us, we've been told that having more money is going to make us happier. I think we've all been told this, haven't we? Now, I'm not saying more money is a bad thing, but it doesn't necessarily solve every single problem that you're going to have. Because we all know that there's loads of billionaires and millionaires who are miserable as fuck and who do evil things. Let's not go into who I'm actually talking about right here. And for me, it's just having freedom. Not just financial freedom, but time. I have time. On my days off, I like just sitting in my bed and doing fuck all. If I want to rest and do absolutely nothing, I will and I can. If I want to book a holiday and just go away, like for a weekend, I can. That's my definition of success. For somebody else, they'll look at me and be like, she's so irresponsible. She's so immature. Grow up. And as a millennial, you all know that when we first started expressing this in our 20s, how, oh, do you know what? This is starting to, we were starting to see cracks in the bubbles that we were sold from the boomers. And the boomers would just turn around and be like, have you tried working harder? I used to work 2 jobs and I used to work 7 till 7. And have you tried begging your manager for overtime? Have you begged them for a promotion yet? This whole licking your boss's boots vibe that the boomers had. They tried to tell us, oh, that's what we did, so that's what you guys should do, and that's going to make you successful. Now, a boomer's probably going to watch this video and be like, do you know what? You hit burnout because you didn't have kids. If you'd had kids, you would have been so much happier. Because that was another piece of bullshit that we were sold. If you have kids, you're never going to feel lonely again. Or if you have kids, you're going to feel this unconditional love and you're always going to have someone who loves you. Or if you have kids, you're never going to have a bad moment. We all know this is bullshit. I'm not even going to go into that. And the second way that I didn't redefine success for me, and it led me to feeling really shit about myself, is actually this YouTube channel. Now, when I first started it, it was actually just on a whim. And then afterwards, I was like, do you know what? No, I'm going to make this work. But unfortunately, I started looking a little bit too hard at the metrics and the data and the numbers. And it started to gently, erode at my confidence a little bit. During that time where it's been maybe since I did a serious video, probably 4 years, 3.5. Ever since then, I've been up and down with it. Some days I wanted to stick it out, and other days I wanted to burn it all down to the fucking ground. True Aries style. Once we are sick of something, we will fucking burn it down. Like, if we have a crack on the wall in our house, we'll burn the house down instead of fix the fucking crack. This is how I got down about stuff. I started looking at the sub count and the numbers and the views. And whilst this is important metrics, if you do want to succeed, or if you do want to use it as, you know, a guidance to improving your channel, that's great. That's why it's there. It's there for a reason. But it is so important not to let those numbers define you, not to let numbers simply make you feel successful or unsuccessful about yourself. I was comparing myself to other YouTubers who are like in the hundreds of thousands, in the millions, who have probably been doing this for years. But even worse, I would compare myself to other creators who maybe started later on than me and are already triple, quadruple the size of mine and doing so much quote unquote better, which they kind of are. And I'd be like, right, well, this isn't for you. Maybe you should just stop. And that is why this time last year, I actually wasn't posting, and I had about a 3-month gap in posting videos because I was genuinely like, I don't know if I really want to do this. I don't know if it's worth it. But then again, I had to sit down with that and I had to go, right, well, what's success for you? Is it just views? Is it just a numbers game? Is it because you want to make it your full-time job? Is it because you want to make an impact? Do you actually want people to communicate with you, to, you know, share experiences? Do you want people to comment? Because sometimes your views can be really low, but you actually have an audience engaged. And this is what I learned when I started posting business content, when I was running my business from like social media pages during lockdown. It was a case of, do you just want fans who just go to you, yeah, go girl, you got this? Or do you actually want people talking with you, interacting with you, actually interested in your business, your product, your service? Because these are two very different things. Not everybody online who has a huge audience is necessarily making a lot of money. There are some people with literally millions of followers who I've actually seen this as evidence on TikTok, a content creator who has millions of followers and her view count on her videos is like 20, 30K. I used to think this was a slog because I was like, what's the point? No one's listening, no one's viewing. I'm never gonna like make money from it, etc. And then again, I had to sit down and review and think, okay, so what is gonna make you feel successful? Do you want people to listen and it maybe change their view on something, or maybe make them think, or maybe make them feel more seen and less lonely in their life choices? Because one of these is just an aesthetic goal and the other one is actually like, no, you're making an impact. You're making other people feel seen. You're making other people feel safe. Which one is it that you want? Because there's a lot of creators out there who genuinely don't care about their audience. And I'm not saying they have to, but they genuinely don't care about their audience. They're just here for numbers and for money. I guess if there's anything you can take from this video, it's that we all have our own versions of success and none of them are right or wrong. But either way, depending on whichever route you choose to redefine your version of success in your life, there will be someone along the way, or society, oftentimes, depending on what you want, that will try and tell you that what you want is wrong, or that what you want makes you selfish, or that you're asking for too much, or that you're being too entitled, or whatever. And it is so important to keep checking in with yourself. The reason I hit burnout was because I wasn't checking in with myself. I started operating on autopilot. I started gaslighting myself into what I thought success actually was when it wasn't. And that is why I spent so many years feeling like a failure. Because it wasn't that I failed, it was because I was barking up the wrong tree. It wasn't that I didn't climb the tree successfully, it's that I was at the fucking wrong tree anyway. You're never too old to do this. I'm probably gonna keep doing it until I'm like fucking 50, 60. I'm not gonna hit 40 and be like, right guys, I've made it, see you later, I know what success is. I'll probably have to return back to base and do it again. Because once again, we're constantly evolving. If you're constantly evolving, then what you see as success is constantly evolving too. What I thought was successful when I was 21 is not what I think is successful now. I used to think groveling and working hard was success. And I got through a stage of my life where I was bragging about that because that's what I saw everyone else around me doing. So I thought, oh, I'm going to do it too. And guess where it led me? Nowhere nice. So if you're going to take anything from this, keep redefining what success means to you and to you only. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a massive thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.